Okay. Uh, Amen. We've prayed. I see Nangoli Desmond from Wellstar Bright Secondary School, Mukono. Kisache Mark, Our Lady of Africa, you're welcome. Jemima from Montaroyo College, good. There is Chamtai Esther from Jeresa High School, that is in Soroti, good. Keep them coming. We're using the first 5 minutes for that, and you're left with the two. Just type your name and your school. Read it. Kiravo Samuel from St. Kizito SS Bugolovi, good. Joel from Comprehensive College, Chitetika Gayaza, good. Keep them coming. There is James from Crested Secondary School. Solomon Taiba, this one didn't put the school. Keep them coming, please. Okay, Gift from Budo Secondary School. Actually, congratulate them for being the champions of USSA. Alexander Philip Taiba International. Okay, Philip, that's Taiba International School, good. Lane from Bale Comprehensive High School, good. This one just put St. Mary's Kitende. I don't know. Zara Bakuba, Taiba International, good. Reneta Taiba, good. Jovia and Tina, Our Lady of Africa, good. Our Lady of Good Counsel. Noah, Seri, Taiba, good. Let's keep them coming. We are only left with a few seconds. Jojo Iganga says, good. Shelly, Taiba International, good. You're all welcome. Shelly Taiba, okay. This is Israel Peace, Our Lady of Africa. Our Lady of Good Counsel, Gayaza, good. Immaculate Cynthia, Taiba, good. You're all welcome. Audrey, St. Mary's, Kitende. I hope I'm right, good. Christina Maryhill, you're welcome. Janet Gayaza Adventist, you're welcome. Precious Taiba, you're welcome. Justin Bena, Namirembe Standard, you're welcome. Okay, you'll keep them coming, please. It's already 5 minutes past 2. And in this moment, we shall straight away go to our discussions. And for the next 5 minutes, okay, please keep them coming. Kimera Yusuf. Okay, for the next 5 minutes, I will be listening from your expectations. Though, well, it being my first lesson with you, that's why I already got the topic to discuss today's afternoon. But next time, I will need you to guide me on what we must cover. So, on that note, I will first note your expectations for the remaining time that we shall meet, maybe. I'll simply want you to maybe type down the particular area that you want me to focus on so much. You can simply type, for example, if you've not introduced yourself, then you can introduce yourself. Say maybe Kimera Yusuf. Maybe you put a topic, let's say coordination. Where you say Justin Benaf, maybe let's say excretion. Or you can also note down that particular part you feel I should focus on most in the session, more so in this area of reproduction. So I'm waiting for that also. Your expectations for today's session. Genetics, good. Maybe next time, hopefully. Or also today, if we have some time, we shall talk about it. Alan Abraham from Star Gomes. Okay, this one was still introducing himself. Genetics and inheritance. Okay. So you want me to drop, should I drop reproduction, then I go to genetics? Chemical coordination, good. Someone talked about sex determination, genetics and asexual reproduction. Okay, Chivumbi Philip says asexual reproduction, meaning today she's going to be covered properly. There is someone talking about mitosis, that is still under genetics. What of practicals? We can also handle some of them if possible. Genetics. So I think genetics is so serious. Ecology and excretion, genetics, sexual reproduction. Okay. Food tests. So that is the same practical. Food tests. Okay, keep them coming. Meiosis and inheritance. So I think inheritance is really serious that we should focus on. Then there's something about coordination, soil practicals, enzyme activity, genetics. I think genetics is so serious. You're almost making me change today's topic to genetics. Okay. Let me see if it is possible, but I know it won't be so easy to change a topic to genetics. It won't be so easy. Genetics. Okay, it might not be possible today. I think it will not. Okay, well, I've got your interests about what we must handle. I see genetics is really dominating, and inheritance, reflex actions, that is coordination, placentation, and HL genetics. Okay. Genetics, I think genetics is so serious. Okay, genetics. Well, so for today, let's handle reproduction, and then next time maybe we shall do genetics. I promise you that, just in time. So for now, I'll directly take you to I'll directly take you to our topic today, which is reproduction in organisms. And like I said earlier, I'm Adam Navende, and I'm a teacher at Mbale Secondary School. And that is my email, just in case you need to find out anything. So we shall go to reproduction. And like we know from what we already know about reproduction, to reproduce, not reproduction is a life process, which is among the 7 life processes we talked about in senior 1. So we talked about it as also being important and very important in life of a living organism. But someone can ask themselves, life processes are very important and we can't do without them. But someone can say, what about maybe some animals that are barren, or even human beings that are barren? Are they also maybe having that life process? So we have it, like we talked about them in senior 1, we have 7 life processes. Like you can remember. For us to remember easily, you can type for me those 7 life processes in that chat room. List for me the 7 life processes, please. so that we can catch up very fast. I'll make sure that you're all engaged. Movement or locomotion, good. That's the first one. Excretion. Second one, respiration and gaseous exchange, good. Movement or locomotion, good. Reproduction, good. Sensitivity, good. Tarema has put reproduction still. Atugonza Dori in reproduction. Esther Chemtai, feeding. Debbie feeding. Isn't Debbie copying from Esther? Kwikiriza Jemima, movement, growth, good. Movement, growth, sensitivity, growth. Has someone listed all of them? Nangoli Desmond tried to list all of them, but they only made 4. I wish someone can list for us all of them. Matthias, irritability, good, that is sensitivity. Feeding by David Mavike. Elise says reproduction. Angela says respiration. Pami, sensitivity, growth. I wish someone could list all of them. Death, Dora has put death. Sure. When you die, is it a characteristic for being a living thing? No, death is not. Hannah, Sebaidu, the joy has said that metabolism, no, metabolism is a sum of all life processes. Atugonza Dorin, sensitivity to stimulus, okay. Matthias, movement. Mavika has listed the 4. I want someone who can list all the 7. Good. I see Caleb Katerega has tried here, has listed the sensitivity, growth, movement, reproduction, respiration, excretion, and nutrition. Caleb, I have given you a high 5. And then there is this Zoom user, has listed also all of them. There is David Mavika has listed the 5. There is Techno Common 15 was who has listed, I think, 7. Good. So that's a good idea. Someone has put here that what? Okay, Alex. Okay, it's okay. So, like someone has listed here clearly, has listed reproduction among the life processes, meaning we can't live without reproduction. And asked also a question that, how about those individuals that are barren? Do you think are they missing something? You can reply there whether yes or no. People or some animals that are barren, I mean those which can't reproduce. Do you think they are missing anything? Yes, they are missing. No. So Alan Abraham says they are not missing anything. Ahomuza says maybe. Yeah, maybe. Technocama says yes. Tarema James says no. Their makeup. They are missing their makeup? I don't know. Then Abraham says yes. Kisache says no. I wish you attach an explanation to your answer. Niwavine Emmanuel says they are missing. What are they missing anyway? Low reproductive materials such as low sperm counts? No. Okay. But at least we realize that it is important to have a reproductive system. Someone saying yes, due to infertility, good. So it is true that those people who are barren or who can't reproduce are definitely missing something because they are missing a life process. Because I learned that this reproduction is very important, and we shall understand why. So reproduction is simply a process by which organisms multiply to increase in number. So it might not be necessarily meaning giving birth, no. But here we talk about reproduction generally as the process by which organisms multiply to increase in number. Sometimes it will not, we shall have a number of types of reproduction that we shall list as we go on. So I have here a question. What would you think would happen if organisms didn't reproduce? Or we can even take the case of humans because it's the one we understand best. What do you think would happen? Niwavine, for whatever you want to ask, you can just simply type it. So let's answer this question first. If someone is barren, doesn't mean they are not living things, because they have the system for the process. Okay. So David Mavika has explained there. Yes, because they have issues with uterus. So I'm sorry, I'm late. I'm not understanding what we are on. Extinction. Good. Sorry, you were a bit, but we are not so far into the lesson. You are starting knowledge. And our key question is, what would happen if organisms didn't reproduce? And Ahomza has said that it will lead to extinction. And that one takes us to a new word. What does extinction mean? Extinction means that we wouldn't be having any living things, or we wouldn't be having any living organisms on Earth if we didn't have reproduction take on. Meaning, even me or even you couldn't be living if we didn't have reproduction as a life process. But it is because of reproduction that living things still exist. So if it wasn't for reproduction, then we could all be extinct, or we couldn't be living. That is according to Ahumza Abraham, Zoom user. Then Janet Alva says we wouldn't exist. Yes, that's the same thing as extinction. And then yes, extinction of species. Good. The world could come to an end. Could it come to an end, or life could come to an end? Maybe life, not the world. We would be extinct. Good. Become extinct. Good. I like the way you're using that word. It is the correct word we must use. We would become extinct, or we would cease living. Organisms wouldn't multiply in number. Yes, and if they don't multiply, it means that no life shall go on to the next generation. There would be no giving rise to offsprings among organisms. Yes, that is by Ellis. I don't know if it is Ellis or Ellis. You'll forgive me if I pronounce it wrongly. So many other Potaremwa, Alpha, to everyone. Please, I appreciate all your inputs. And I like it when the class is so lively like this. And Monique Shina says there will be no growth. Mariam Nisima says Leon would miss me. I don't know. Oh, okay, it's okay. So, so that Daniela just put that there would be a reduced number of organisms. Yes, but if there was no reproduction at all, then we wouldn't have any organisms live anyway. So we acknowledge that it's very important to have reproduction take place. So under reproduction, you have two types of reproduction. We have asexual versus sexual reproduction. And like you see for asexual, we usually write it as one word. Like you see it, the way it has been written there, one word. We see it is one cell, or we can start from here. It is one cell that is giving rise to another cell, which cell divides to give rise to this one, and then it gives rise to two cells. Okay. So in this case, it is only one parent that is involved. Like you're seeing, it is only one cell that is ending up with the two cells. It is only this one cell that is leading to the two cells. And we are seeing only one cell in each stage. And because you have one cell participating as a parent leading to the production of the offspring, that's why we call it asexual. So in other words, anytime we talk about asexual, we mean that type of reproduction where we have only one kind of parent. In other words, if I would give an example that if humans were reproducing asexually, then there is no way someone put in the chat room here that Leon would miss me. So there is no way Leon would miss that person, simply because we would only need that Leon to give rise to offspring. But because for us human beings don't undergo asexual reproduction, So we need two parents. But for asexual, we only need one parent. Okay. So for sexual, like you see, we need two parents to give rise to offspring. Like here we have this green parent with the blue parent coming together through what we call fusion. Okay. Fusion of FU, meaning they come together through, let's say, through mating, and then they give birth to offspring, and offspring are always having characteristics of the mother, and I mean from the mother parent and then the father parent. So like you're seeing how the two is coming up, and then we shall end up with an offspring that is having characteristics from both the father and the mother. So in this case of sexual reproduction, there is always a fusion, meaning we need two parents to come together to give offspring. Unlike in asexual where we needed only one parent. Okay, I will keep up with the chat to see if people are putting in any feedback. Okay, this one is simply. I clear the screen. I don't know. Someone here, Niwabine Emmanuel said that teacher, can asexual be mitosis? Yes. If we are letting it in terms of division of cells, then we would say that asexual reproduction is it comes out because of mitosis. Remember, in mitosis, one cell divides. Remember, a diploid cell which has two ends should still end up with a diploid offspring. In other words, in mitosis or in under asexual reproduction, one cell divides to give two cells with the same chromosome number like the parent. Why? Because you have only one parent anyway. But under sexual, we have two parents come into contact. Okay. So because of the two parents coming into contacts, it shall be a mistake or a mutation if the chromosome number comes the complete way. So under sexual reproduction, we usually have what we call halving of chromosome number. So we usually relate asexual reproduction with mitosis because it is the same chromosome number which is got from the mother to the offspring. However, for sexual reproduction, usually related with meiosis because the daughter cell has half the chromosome number from the parent. Why must it be half? Because if in case, let's say the mother has 2N and the father also has 2N, and then a mistake happens and the cell doesn't, the chromosome number doesn't divide, it means that you're going to end up with a child who is tetraploid or has 4. In that case, such a child will be a mutant or will have come up because of mutation. So because of that fact, that's why the chromosome number in sexual reproduction or in meiosis must half, so that we can pick a half from the father and a half from the mother cell to end up with a fertile offspring, that is diploid. I'll pick up some charts from here to maybe explain some few things. Someone says, is it? I don't know. Oh, sorry, I'm using big words. Sorry, please. My understanding of chromosomes. Sorry. Now, okay. Sorry for using those words, but a chromosome is that particular part in a cell which carries characteristics, the ones we call DNA. So in this case, we shall call a chromosome DNA. Okay. Now, for mitosis is when one cell, the parent cell divides to give two cells. with the same number of DNA or with the same amount of DNA. Okay? However, for meiosis, or which takes place in sexual reproduction, we are having two parents. So the two parents, each one shall only give half. So that because here in sexual reproduction, under meiosis, one cell divides to give birth to 4 cells, not 2, like in mitosis. Maybe I think I will confuse it so much because that is more of genetics. That's why someone is saying that you're using very big words. So please, you'll forgive me for that. Next time when we talk about genetics, that's when I'll break down those words so well. But for now, we shall simply take our sexual reproduction as when one parent is involved. And then we shall take sexual reproduction as when 2 parents are involved. Okay? So we can take it like that, please. Yusuf, just type that constant, please. In sexual, there is involvement of gametes. Yes, which gametes come from the parents? So in a sexual reproduction, the same number of chromosomes are carried to the daughter cell. Yes, Tina, that is correct. Why do they say a woman is heterozygote? No, that is under genetics, and I didn't want to go so much there, but a woman is not heterozygote, please. Those keywords shall talk about them under genetics. It is a man who is heterogametic, or their gametes have XY, and the woman is homogametic, or they have XX. Homo means the same. That's why we said a woman is homogametic, meaning they have XX, while a man is heterogametic because they have XY. We shall talk about that more during sex inheritance. Differentiate chromatids, chromosomes, and chromatin. Okay, I think we shall talk about this when you reach genetics, please. I know people are really geared for genetics, but I think let's stick to reproduction for now. Because anytime you draw me that side, you'll also make me bring in words that will confuse you most. So I think let's keep these questions towards the end, unless when I bring up a poll and you must participate. Let's keep them. I'll go through all of them at the end and I try to answer, please. So for now, let me just continue. But I'll explain all that you need. Okay, so you have asexual which mainly follows the principle of mitosis, and then sexual, which mainly follows the principle of meiosis. And then someone has said that, but there is some mitosis under sexual. Yes, it is there. And we shall explain how it comes to that. Oh, who is writing on the screen? Okay. So under sexual reproduction, this is a type of reproduction which does not involve fusion of gametes, and therefore only one individual is involved. I think I've already talked about that. There are many types of reproduction, and some of them are budding. Budding is very common in yeast and hydra. This is where just any part that it buds, or it builds, like one cell gets what we call an outgrowth. And then when that outgrowth increases, it can easily break off, and that's what we call budding. And then you have spore formation, e.g. in fungi. You always see that for those people who have ever seen mushroom or puffballs, usually you see that when they have grown to maturity, you will see some forms of dust, which are like dust or smoke things. And those are the ones we call spores. And then you have fragmentation. This one is in tapeworms and spirogera. Fragmentation is simply whereby when one part breaks off a particular living organism, that part forms another organism. That's what we mean. So in case if it was a human being, then if you cut off the hand can form another human being. Then we have binary fission. Now that word is a fission, not fusion. Fission. Fusion, fusion means coming together. Then fission, fission means in plasmodium. Plasmodium is the one which causes of course, it causes different types of malaria. We have many species of plasmodium. We have plasmodium falciparum, plasmodium vivax. We have plasmodium malariae. So all those ones are the ones responsible for the different malaria people get. And then lastly, we have vegetative reproduction in plants, and this one shall be our main area of concern tonight. Because remember, this is a new curriculum, and we must be able to be, productive of the information we get. So majority of this information can be handled under vegetative reproduction to solve problems of famine and hunger in different parts of the world using this knowledge. Okay, before we can even proceed, do you know of any living thing which can, the ones I've mentioned here, which is common to your area, that can undergo a sexual reproduction? Just keep that in the chat. Yes, keep in. There is someone who is typing, who is writing on the screen. I don't know. Someone says, Princeton says cassava. Yes, good. Cassava produces. I wish you can put that the. No, I said the other than the ones I mentioned. So Princess has put tapeworm. I've just mentioned the tapeworm, please, Princess. Put the one which I have not mentioned. Mugisha Olivi says cassava is produced by stem cuttings. Mushrooms reproduced by spores. Okay. Teacher, I thought that you are going to come with a scenario on reproduction, not notes. We are going to do some scenarios, please. Banana by suckers, Irish potatoes. Eggplants, molds, ginger, banana suckers. Okay, so all those ones. In this first hour, we are doing some notes. Then in the second hour, we are going to do a lot of items. Trust me. Okay, keep them coming. We have examples of sexual reproduction there. We have budding, like in the hydra. We have binary fission. We have fragmentation. So mainly those are the main forms of asexual reproduction that we have. Okay, I'm removing this first. Okay. We have multiple fission there. Multiple fission is in citizens, that is in plasmodium, which causes malaria, and that's how it comes up. So we have vegetative reproduction using plant cuttings to reproduce plants. I know you can try this on your own, But of course, for the particular plant you're using, it should be a younger one, not a very mature one, to do any form of asexual, vegetative reproduction that we are going to talk about today. So this is a mode of reproduction in plants where parts of the plant other than the seeds develop into a new individual. So this normally takes place in rhizomes. Rhizomes, we have examples like ginger, the ginger you commonly put in the coffee or tea at home. And then we have bulbs. Bulbs, an example is an onion or garlic. Usually use that in food or in food preparation. Combs, an example is a yam. I know someone must have ever eaten a yam. Then we have stolon. Stolon is an example is couch grass or Cylindrica dactylon. Then we have runners. Runners, we have an example of which example? I know shall get some more several down there. So let's go through the particular parts that are used in asexual reproduction. Those are the different parts that are used in asexual reproduction. We have examples there. We have ginger in the first one. We also have this grass, which also has a form of, this is not ginger, but this is a stolon. This one is a stolon. The same to this one. This is a runner. And then these are bulbs, the onions. So we have the matoke there. We have the yams. And those are some of the examples. So it seems people, I don't know, should we leave vegetative reproduction and go should we leave asexual reproduction and go to sexual reproduction? I want to take that into the poll. Scenario, no. Yes, nope. Yes. Okay, let it flow. Let's continue. So I now bring in scenarios in the next chapter, please. In the next hour, the second hour. So we have rhizomes. Rhizomes are underground stems that are swollen with food and have lateral buds. Buds refer to those parts that grow into a branch or a new plant, like that. Okay, so if they are lateral means on the sides. Okay, lateral buds are found on the sides, and then they also have scale leaves. Usually for ginger, you always realize those feather-like leaves. Those feather-like scales on the ginger. Those are the ones we call scale leaves. And it has nodes and internodes. Nodes are that particular part where you see that you can easily break the ginger. Then internodes are those parts. I'll show using this. Did we get one here? Okay, let me show you one. I want you to understand the meaning of a node and an internode. Okay, just a moment. I think I should put in some setting here because I see people abusing the annotate tool. Okay. So I wanted to explain the meaning of a node and an internode. A node is like, if you take the example of this, then this, from here, this one could be a node, and then the distance between this one node to the next one is what we call the internode. So I have solons. There are also underground stems, not sown with food, but have lateral buds. An example is coach grass. We are just from seeing coach grass up here. This one in the middle is the one we call coach grass. And then we have runners. Runners, an example is star grass. Star grass is this one, the one with green and large leaves. Then we have bulbs. I said an example of bulb are onions or garlic. Then combs, we have yams. And then suckers, we have pineapples. So the main thing is, how do you think we do this at home? For example, at home, you can have flowers. And usually there are times when, of course, for normal people, most people can buy their flowers to plant, but usually they don't have time to go and buy again. For example, if you buy flowers this year of grass for home, and then you buy more next year, yet you can simply use this to solve that problem. So all you need to do is you should understand which particular pollinating organ or organ for reproduction does that plant use. If you identify it, for example, let's say it is a rhizome. Rhizomes are always found underground. So meaning you should make them a garden using the knowledge of agriculture, maybe. Make a particular garden where you can multiply those flowers or grass vegetatively. So the first thing is, if you want to grow your thing, first identify which particular organ does this plant use or this organism use for a sexual reproduction. If you identify it, then try to solve the problem by planting and increasing the number. Just like we said, the essence of reproduction is to increase in number. Though it is only, of course, the human and some group of primates that can have sex for fun. But the primary reason for mating is giving offspring. We shall go to advantages of vegetative reproduction. Of course, we have things like new plants resemble their parent plants. I said, why do you think they resemble their parent plants? Because they undergo mitosis. And in mitosis, we say that it is the same number of chromosomes or the same number of DNA that is given to the daughter. Therefore, the good characteristics from the parent are collectively given to the daughter plant. So that is the good thing with it. Meaning, if you're having your rose flowers, which are very beautiful and look so perfect, then also when you use vegetative reproduction, you'll get the same rose flowers that are perfect like the parents. And then the growth of the new plant is rapid. Now, in this case, when you're using vegetative reproduction, the growing of plants is very rapid. Just like we said, if you're growing, let's take an example of you're growing sugarcane using stem cuttings. In that case, when you put sugarcane, it will grow faster than you'd actually use the seeds. Why? Because when you're using stem cuttings, these stem cuttings have some food stored in them. Therefore, the new crop growing or the new organism growing shall easily have where to get the food. That's why they grow. And then the reproductive organ stores plenty of food which the new plant uses. I think I've already talked about that. And then it does not involve processes like pollination, fertilization, and dispersal agents are not required. So for this type of vegetation, vegetative reproduction, here you don't need any pollinators, you will not need bees, you will not need the wind, you will not need any animals to transfer the pollen from the anther to the stigma. You don't need any fertilization, you don't need dispersal agents like birds the whole thing you'll need is, you'll need that organism alone, because remember I said that in asexual reproduction, it is only one individual or one parent involved. So large areas can be covered in relatively little time. We give an example, like when you're using the, let's say, stem cuttings for cassava, within a short time you plant only one individual, and that one saves a lot. You can imagine what would happen if also humans were reproducing vegetatively. It would mean that no person could move from Gulu to go and look for the husband in Kampala, in which case you can be moving and you get involved in an accident. You can be moving and you get hijacked by robbers. So because you're using only one individual, so if also human beings were producing vegetative, it would mean that there would be no movement, no energy wasted you looking for mates, no energy wasted you looking around for this and that. So having one individual as as a solo individual for reproduction saves that a lot, because it saves the energy which could be used for reproduction. Jojo Hotz, I don't know what you want to say, but you can simply type it. I'll read it. Let's go through some of the disadvantages of vegetative reproduction. Since new plants grow, since new plant grows on its parent, it can lead to overcrowding. Now, the only problem is because here an organism is just growing very near its parents, it will lead to overcrowding. And you know the problem with that, just like I said, if we could take an example of human beings also reproducing by asexual reproduction, it would mean that in a very short time, you would be having very many children. And remember, these children who you are producing asexually can't go anywhere else. Therefore, you'll crowd in that one room, meaning you'll easily spread the diseases. You'll need a lot of food. You'll need a lot of light. And therefore, that one shall lead to diseases, which can lead to death. So that is the whole disadvantage. Because this plant, this let's say cassava, is having all of plants grow on the same stem cutting, then they will lead to overcrowding, which will lead to competition for light and to lead to easy spread of diseases. And then you have shortage of water and mineral salts is likely to occur due to competition. Yes, I've already talked about that, competition. Then diseases of the parent plant can be transmitted. Okay, sorry about that. My internet a bit misbehaved, but shall be back. Okay. Please, if I'm very fast and you need to copy, maybe. I hope that is why Jojo was putting up the hand. Oh, Talia says Mbale network. Lack of variation due to lack of genetic mixing. Use, oh, Virginia Maguez, please mind your language, eh? Mind your language. Mbale network. Yeah, you can't hear, unmuted, not gone off. Hey, someone said you take a screenshot. I'm copying notes Nadunga Shanaz. Roche said that some of you remove your cameras. Benjamin is having their camera on. Maybe they are meaning you. Another one has put the camera on, Talia. So does that idea of crowding apply to all the forms of vegetative propagation? Isn't it necessary to? Isn't it necessary to specify that some forms don't necessarily cause crowding, e.g. stem cuttings? Please, that's why here we should be open-minded. We are not taking anything as heavenly truth, and this is the essence of new curriculum. Creating learners who can think. And I like it when someone challenges, man, you just don't follow like I'm having the heavenly truth of the knowledge. No, all your ideas are welcome. So it's very perfect when you reason it out that not overcrowding affects everything. That's a good idea. Of course, it does not affect everything. I will send the notes, yes. This topic was covered. Okay, sorry. Maybe next time I think I could have done genetics. But let's briefly go through it because the one I had planned for. And if the parents' plant has poor characteristics, they can be maintained by the younger ones. That is true. Artificial vegetative propagation. This is a mode of reproduction where man is involved. I always know those things. For example, we always see them in trees, where people can use budding, grafting, marcoting, layering, and they do that to improve the quality of their plant that they want. Now, this one is very different from the other natural ones we talked about. Okay, here we shall be talking about where man is involved. That's the one we call artificial vegetative reproduction. I mean, propagation. Now, an example there is the budding, and it's the process where a bud is detached from a plant and grown in suitable conditions into a new plant. You've seen that example. For the particular plant you're budding, you should better do it when the conditions are so cool. And that's the first thing. You should do it when the conditions are so cool, like it can be a hot day. And also, secondly, for that particular plant, it should be young. Don't come to a very mature plant and it's the one you want to do budding on. No. And then another thing to note is for the particular budding or for the particular propagation you're doing, please, you should do for the plants of the same species. And that's where the problem is. Someone will ask that, what does species mean? All human beings are of the same species, for example, whether you're white, I mean, someone from California, someone from Paraguay, someone from Ghana, someone from China, someone from Pakistan, someone from India, someone from Somalia. We are all of the same species. Why do I say that you're all of the same species? Why? Because when a person who is Pakistanese can mate with a person who is Ugandan, for example, and they give birth to an offspring that is fertile. That's why we have the same species. So organisms of the same species are those which can mate and produce fertile offspring. Someone would say that, but there is a cross between a donkey and a horse, and they give birth to a mule. Yes, that is true. A horse is of a different species from a donkey. But however, in that case, the mule they produce is not fertile, simply because they are of different species. So what I was trying to mean is for any particular vegetative propagation you're doing artificially, it should be between the organisms of the same species. In other words, don't get a bud from let's say mango, then you put it on an orange, and then you expect it to grow there. It won't give a viable one or an offspring. If it grows there, then it will only grow one part because of the nutrients it is getting from maybe the mango, but we won't be having a mix-up. That's what I'm trying to mean. So for you to bud or to artificially propagate successfully, those organisms must be of the same species in the way that the mother and the father should be of the same species, and they give birth to an offspring that is also fertile. So we have grafting. Grafting is so common also in fruits like coffee. It can be done in the oranges family and the lemon family, or the citrus fruits. So we have here the new words we have are the scion and then the stalk. And the part which is inserted can be a bud or a shoot of a plant, and it is called a scion. So for example, this first one that a person is holding in the hand is the scion. And then this one where the scion is being inserted is the stalk. So the stalk is the plant which is having the roots, and the scion is the new plant which is being introduced. Let me check the chat box. I see Alpha is raising up the hand. Okay. That is layering, which is so common in the lemons. I mean, in the strawberries. We have stem cuttings there. We have plant tissue culture. That one is the new form of growing also. Then we have advantages of asexual reproduction, and then disadvantages. Then we have the commercial applications. We have cloning and propagation. We have crop improvement. We have mass production. Anyway, let's do how they are different. That's the Venn diagram which shows the sexual and asexual reproduction. In this second, I want us to do some scenarios. Yachira Ruth is putting up the hand. Okay, so let's do the scenarios now. Marita, please type it. Type it. Type. Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know. I don't know what went wrong, but I hope all is well now. Okay, we can continue. I hope we are still recording. Yeah, we are. So let's proceed. We have got here a number of papers, but I've failed to get an item for reproduction. But I know we shall do these ones. I hope they will similarly be okay. So let's take note of that. Xiaomi. Okay, let's start. I'm just checking the messages to see any concerns that people have sexual reproduction. Okay, so Shina and one other are raising up their hands. I don't know. Just type whatever you want, please. Shina, Monique, type whatever you want. I thought I'd magnified enough. I don't know. Okay. So in the village of Nyakaton, located in Kabale district, local farmers predominantly cultivate cabbage and bean plants. David, please, if you're raising up the hand, just type it, please. Just type it. So I want us to first summarize this. Let's analyze this item. In the village of Nyakaton, located in Kabale district, local farmers predominantly cultivate cabbage and bean plants. However, the village recently faced a prolonged dry spell, followed by stronger winds, which brought a significant amount of dust that settled on the leaves and stems of cabbage and bean plants, and bean crops. The farmers are worried that if this problem persists, it could lead to severe losses in their harvests. The first task is identify the specific processes and plant parts affected by the dust. Marita says leaves. Good. Talia, please. Let's answer the item. Shukrat, let's provide answers. Tina says translocation. Good idea. Easy says transpiration, plant parts, leaves. Good. Norio, I don't know, says leaves and stems. So says photosynthesis. Atogonza Doran says tomato and respiration, stems, photosynthesis, stems, leaves, flowers. Good. That's a good new idea. Leaves and stems at a translocation. How? Easy Sparklight has asked how it came to transpiration. Translocation, photosynthesis, gaseous exchange. Okay. And it's a sexual reproduction in plants, but okay, what's this? It says pollination. Okay. So let's go to our task. Part A was identify the specific processes, and plant parts affected. Meaning, if you come here and put a response like translocation, there you're putting a process which is right, for example. I'm just using an example of translocation. And then which particular plant part is affected by that. So in this case, I'm going to use the ideas provided there. So can we refine them now? Identify the process and then a plant part. I'm now reviewing that. Emmanuel professor has just put pollination. No, we said you identify a process and the part. Technopop 5 has said that leaves, then respiration. Okay. The scenario doesn't talk about flowers. Good. Marita, that is a very good observation. Oh, someone said that after the question, you show the scenario. Okay, let it be like that maybe. What's wrong with the digits? Digits. Okay, translocation, stem, presence. That's a good one. It's a good idea. We have not yet refined them. And I said gaseous exchange in leaves. Perfect. That's a good idea. Pollination, leaves. Okay. Photosynthesis, leaves. Good. That is by Joel Patrick and then Matthias. Countdown says stem, translocation. Good. And then someone says, Yachira Ruth says photosynthesis, leaves. Good idea. And then the scenario I'll put it, photosynthesis, leaves. Absorption, stems. Okay. Absorption, okay, it's okay. That is an idea from Kiravo. Gaseous exchange, leaves. Okay, good idea. Active transport, stem. Really? Okay, good. It's a good idea. Jojo says leaves, then photosynthesis. Think so? Okay, there are so many, but your ideas are very good. At least you have an idea. I've gone through them. There is Mariam Nisima, Janet Nakate, Hanela Porin, Yachira Ruth, Talia, Floem, in stems, Emanuelo Professor. Okay, very good ideas. Didn't affect inside the stem. That is a good idea from Marita. Now let me refine these responses. Remember I said that it is the dust. And in this case, they talked about the, let me first minimize the messages. Remember, if we can refer back to our scenario, they said that in the village of Nyakaton, located in Kabale district, local farmers predominantly cultivate cabbage and bean plants. However, the village recently faced a prolonged dry spell, followed by. So I will start by analyzing the key question. The key things here. The problems we have here are the dry spell. We have this dry spell, okay? We have the dry spell, and then we have followed by the dry wind. Those are the problems. And then which brought significant amount of dust. So dust is another problem. We should analyze what's the effect of dust. That settled on the leaves. And the stems of cabbage and bean crops. The farmers are worried that if this problem persists, it could lead to the severe losses in their harvests. So the problem they have is losses in the harvests. So those are our key points. Now, identify the specific processes and plant parts affected by the dust. The dust is just going to the leaves and stems. It is not in any way going inside. Okay? So let's first focus on the leaves. For example, let's first identify the plant part, leaves, not so. Now, can you list for me the life processes or processes that take place on the leaves? Now let's do that. Photosynthesis, correct. Gaseous exchange, correct. Transpiration, correct. Gaseous exchange, correct. Now, I will simply put, I'll try to do this, to explain this. Is there a difference between gaseous exchange and respiration? Someone can type yes or no. Is there a difference between gaseous exchange and respiration? Yeah. Ian Kanyago, good. Now, given that there is a difference between gaseous exchange and respiration, which of the two takes place on the leaves? There is a difference. Yes, there is a difference between gaseous exchange and respiration. Which one takes place in the leaves? Gaseous exchange. Yes, because on the leaves we have the stomata, which bring in and outside, which exchange gases. In other words, when the dust drops on the leaves, it shall affect gaseous exchange, the movement of gases in and out through the stomata. Okay? So meaning in this case, the process you identify shall be gaseous exchange, not respiration. Okay? So shall we say gaseous exchange, plant part, leaves. Okay? Yes. And then another one was photosynthesis. How does dust affect photosynthesis? For example, you know that usually in the dry season, the dust usually covers the whole of the leaf. Therefore, meaning it will be covering the green area of the leaf, which has chloroplasts that carry out photosynthesis. Meaning, in the case where these leaves have been, have dust on them, such leaves will not be able to receive the light that they can use to photosynthesize. So another part shall be, the process shall be photosynthesis, and also it is occurring on the leaves. Also, we can also explain photosynthesis in terms of the stomata, yes. Why? Because carbon dioxide could be also entering through the stomata anyway. Okay? So those are the main processes which occur on the leaves. Gaseous exchange and photosynthesis. And when the parts, stomata on the leaves, of course, or like the blockage. But simply here they wanted us to identify. So it will simply put process. The process shall be, for example, gaseous exchange, and then the part leaves. Another one, photosynthesis. The part leaves. There is also translocation on the leaves. But remember, the dust is affecting on top. Okay? So by the fact that the dust has covered and the leaf is not receiving light, it means that we shall be having nothing going downwards. Okay. So what about the stem? Which processes take place in the stems that can be affected by the dust? Which process? Remember, here we have been talking about, in this case, they say that the dust only, it is only the dust. The stem could be only affected if the stronger winds had been involved in this item A, the part A. But here we have only dust. So the stem will not be applicable unless the stem is also green and can carry out some photosynthesis. That's when it shall say that some parts of the stem shall be covered by dust. Therefore, the process that shall be affected shall be photosynthesis. But translocation will not work here. Why? Because the dust is only occurring on top. Okay? I hope that is fine. So let's proceed to part B. Explain how the functioning of these plants is affected and the roles of the affected parts stroke roles. Explain how the functioning of these plants is affected and the roles of the affected parts or processes. So in this case, meaning the key highlights are the functioning of these parts, okay? And then the roles of the parts affected. Emmanuel is putting up the hand. Maybe I'll answer you just later on. So in this case, let's explain the parts that have been affected up there. Let's take the case of the process like photosynthesis, okay? And in this case, remember it is open. We are here in part B, we are discussing the effect of the wind and the dust. And let's start with the plant part, let's say leaves. How is it affecting? Dust comes and covers the stomata, which allow exchange of gases. Therefore, carbon dioxide will not reach the chloroplasts to carry out photosynthesis. Okay, plant part, leaves. Which part has been affected? The dust blocks the stomata, meaning there won't be entry of gases like carbon dioxide that are required for photosynthesis to take place. That is the first explanation. I will come again. So which process has been affected? Which part? It's the plant leaves. What has been affected? The stomata. The stomata have been blocked by dust. Therefore, no carbon dioxide shall reach the chloroplasts, where photosynthesis takes place. Okay, I'll go through some messages here. Okay, maybe let me upload the scenario here so that maybe you can have it. Let me upload the scenario here so that it is accessible. I don't know, where did I save it? Okay, let me download it maybe. Okay, I'll add the scenarios here so that we can easily follow. Then we have another part. Let's get another one. Let's take the case of now the process. Let's take the case of photosynthesis. By photosynthesis, I've explained it above, but you can break it into two. Break it into gaseous exchange and then photosynthesis. And then for the leaves, you said the stronger winds can break the stems. David wants to inquire something. David, just type it. Okay, she's saying that I pardon. Yes, we identify it is better to first identify the particular part. For example, the leaves, okay? And then talk about which part. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry about that. But I hope next time we shall be better organized. Okay? Don't mind. Next time I assure you that we shall be better organized. Yeah, yeah. So in this case, Debbie, just type it. Type. Okay? Just type it. So identify the particular part. For example, I said the leaves. Which processes are affected? We said we can have photosynthesis. How is it affected? There is blocking of the stomata, which allows, which enables gases to enter the leaf. Okay, and therefore the carbon dioxide will not reach the chloroplasts. Therefore, no photosynthesis shall take place. But also consider the dust covers the leaf. Therefore, the leaf will not be able to receive sunlight for photosynthesis. Okay. Then for the stem, you can say that, you know that when the stem breaks, the food made in the leaves will not be able to reach the roots. Therefore, the translocation process shall be affected. And that one only comes by stronger wind. Okay. People are saying that maybe I should pick on some people's ideas. Okay, can you propose solution is that the farmers of Nyakatoni could do? Someone has a good idea that dust blocks lent cells. Was it like that? Arisha. Arisha, type it. Okay. I see our time is already getting used. Hassan says they should practice regular watering to remove the dust. That's a very good idea and it is very applicable. Watering the plants. Good. Shukra says they prefer voicing. Irrigation, good. Jojo wants to talk. The problem, okay. Sheltering the plants, okay. Okay, let me upload all these. So I'm saying that, but in the scenario, there is nothing like breaking of the stem. What do you think strong winds do? Okay, irrigation. I want to open the chat room. Let me share this document with you so that we leave more room for discussion. Okay, Atugonza? Atugonza Doreen? Try to unmute. Is it possible?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Check the afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
I was asking, like, okay, like, is this chapter only set in section A, or it can also, some part of it can be set in section B?
Do you mean this chapter? Which chapter? Which chapter?
Okay, like this
Do
one
you
of
mean for this
reproduction.
scenario?
Yeah, for this scenario.
Okay, this can only be set in section A. Maybe I'll break for you down in the elements of construct to understand where it can be set. However, partly because of the ecology, it is the ecology part which can cut across, but now here it was purely life processes. That's why it was appearing under section A. But it can also, if it had some ecology, it could go to section B. But usually this one tests the life processes, the number one, the section A.
All right. Thank you.
All right. You, good, mute. Then who else was having the hand up? This time around, I want it, if you're a boy, you can unmute. And you say,
Yes, good afternoon, sir. Excuse me, sir.
yes, please. Of course, I have to mute to hear you.
Yes, there's something that I want to ask. I have not known how to answer that part A. The way how you have answered it has confused me because you have not explained anything. I've just identified there are some parts and the processes.
Okay, that's a good question. If I go back to this question, they simply say that identify the specific processes and plant parts affected by the I think by the dust. That's why they said identify. Identify simply means you identify, you look for that thing and you write it, not explaining. Okay?
Which means
Not
we just outline.
simple. When they said identify, just like when you enter the school, then the head teacher says that go and call for me Ian Kayongo. Okay? You will simply go and call him. Will you tell him why they are calling him when the head teacher has not told you? You don't. You simply call him. So this is what the item needs.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Mine is just question part B.
Please,
Hello?
you be talking. You be talking. I have to mute to hear you.
Okay. Part B, maybe you can just take us there. What will be she? How I wish you just make questions. But in section B, it was asking us to identify the process, and we mentioned like transpiration there. And you are like, it is not necessary. I was seeing someone in the chat saying that it's not necessary. But I would like to know, why is it not necessary? Because like someone say that it's dry spell, and I also want to understand that part there. But I was trying to raise the concern, but I think it is not. So I wanted to assist me and
I've
clarify
got
that.
you. I've got you, please. Now, transpiration. When you're learning about transpiration, you talk about transpiration being important. Okay. Though it is useful for plant to lose water, but this is a dry spell, and of course, transpiration serves many roles because it is also responsible for the movement of water. Please mute now. Because it is responsible for the movement of the water from the soil to the leaves. Okay. But now the presence of dust on the leaf, it is not a process that is going to, well, only when you reason it that the dust is going to block the stomata, therefore not enabling the water to be lost. But in this case, transpiration is not being a very serious process. Why? Because in this case, it is a disadvantage because it is already a dry spell, meaning when a plant is losing water, it is already wasteful because the plant instead needs more water. That's why transpiration can be important, but it should come last. Okay?
Yeah, I got the point now.
Eh,
Now, like in this one, that explain the function of these plants affected, and like we're supposed to mention first the function, then the part affected.
here, you're supposed to identify the part. Because remember here, we're talking about the parts that have been affected. And the thing affecting is the stronger winds and then the dust. So he said the dust can affect the leaves. And we, like in part A, we learned that the leaves can greatly be affected by the dust. In that, so meaning here in this case, we shall have to identify the part, the plant part. The plant part is the leaves. And because here we are explaining, you can break down which particular part of the leaf has been affected. So in this case, it is the stomata. Which role does the stomata serve? The stomata lets in gas, exchanges gases to the outside and to the inside of the leaf. Which process shall be affected by that? Gaseous exchange. Okay? So you identify the plant part, which is the leaves, the process which has been, and since it is an explanation, you can break down which particular part has been affected, which is the stomata. Which function does it serve? It is for gaseous exchange. Meaning the particular part which, the process which has been affected is gaseous exchange. Let's take an example, maybe still the leaves. We know that the dust blocks the leaves from accessing the sunlight. Therefore, which process has been affected is photosynthesis. If the winds are so strong, they can easily break the stems. And what's the impact of that? The implication is the food made in the leaves will not be able to be translocated to other parts of the plant. Okay?
Yeah,
Excuse
thank you.
teacher.
Teacher.
Yes, please. Please, after you talk.
Teacher. Teacher is saying translocation. But in a scenario, there is no saying the strong winds broke some stems. So teacher, it is better we take like only the answers of leaves to be on a better side. Because
Come again.
Teacher, the point of translocation. Translocation takes place inside the stem. Right? And in a scenario, no one is telling you that the strong wind broke the stem of the plants. No. So it's better we explain more about the processes like that took place on the leaves, not on the stems. Because stems,
Okay, good. That's a good idea. That's a very good idea. Actually, you can also, to stay on the safer side, you can do that. But similarly, you can also relate actually the stronger winds can instead increase the rate of transpiration. Okay? So we can also explain that way. Stronger winds can increase the rate of transpiration, making the water lose a lot of water. Making the plant lose a lot of water. Because not when the winds are strong, they can easily blow away the water vapor from the leaf, causing the water to easily move from the roots to the leaves, therefore increasing the rate of transpiration. So according to, I didn't pick the name, but that is also a good idea.
Yeah.
Any other person wants to say something? Let me check the chat box to see. There is Xiaomi. If you are Xiaomi 24048, you can talk.
Wano government teriyo
Xiaomi. There is okay. I think this one is not with us. Roche.
Excuse me, sir. I'm giving an answer on part.
On which part?
James, stop eating.
Part.
Yes,
I
you can
think,
give. You can give. I'm waiting.
You can install greenhouses to prevent the ducks from eating their leaves.
Okay. You're saying you can install greenhouses. Oh, that's a very wonderful suggestion. Very wonderful. I've given you a high five in the air. It means growing the crops in the greenhouses where the conditions are controlled. That's a very nice idea.
Yeah. So we are requesting for the elements of construct for biology.
Oh, elements of construct. Please, I will check if I get them. I will share them with you. I will check them in my CC. Maybe I will share my email. I really don't like usually sharing my number. But however, in any case, first introduce yourself, your name, your school, then I will share them with you.
Share them in the group.
Maybe. I think I'm not part of that group for now.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
I'm asking that when are we meeting again?
I've not yet seen the timetable for next week, but if at all it is still the same one, then we shall meet same day.
Excuse me,
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
And then that next time, I hope to go through genetics, please. Yeah. Because we also have the next item here is genetics.
Excuse me,
This
sir.
one. So, few drinks. I don't know if it is this one. There's an item on genetics that I wanted you to take. There it is. I think you can take that item, then I'll need answers from you next time.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
Like, for about this part, you say that dust limits the entry of carbon dioxide that reaches the chloroplast for photosynthesis to take place.
Your network.
So I'm inquiring about how do those chloroplasts make use of that carbon dioxide for photosynthesis to take place?
Okay. Now do you have ever thought about why plants need carbon dioxide?
Yes.
Because this carbon dioxide is the one which is actually used to make the sugars. Like we know that glucose has carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, okay? So the carbon on the sugar comes from carbon dioxide gas. So carbon dioxide is a source of the carbon which leads to the making of sugars. So without the carbon dioxide, the chloroplast shall not make food or shall not make the sugars.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, please. Next one. Yes. Who is this one?
This is Ruth. I want to know if greenhouse support the cost of carbon.
I don't get you well.
Excuse me, sir.
Let Yanchera Ruth first talk. You can mute first.
Okay.
Yanchera, you talk?
Yeah. Sir, I want to ask.
Sir, just mute everybody. Mute them, sir. Just mute them there. Everyone is just making noise. Mute them.
Okay. There is a bit of a confusion where everyone has a...
But, sir...
Okay, now I'll mute. First, raise up the hand. Let me unmute Where's Yachira? Yachira, raise up the hand that I can
Mute
easily see you.
everyone and then unmute the people you want to talk to. Master, everyone is just making noise for us. Mute everyone and then unmute only a few.
The question does not have all the parts.
Yes, can you talk? Yachira?
We don't have time for playing, but if people ask questions, we go.
Okay, I think I can't get you so well, and we already.
But that does greenhouses support the growth of cabbages and beans?
Yes, a greenhouse is simply a house which is built to regulate the conditions in which crops are growing.
Okay.
So they grow under controlled conditions, like they are not under natural conditions.
Okay.
Another one?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
I was inquiring to know in this where you talk about the parts, can you also talk about the particular tissues, for example, the phloem and the xylem tissues?
It is even better. You see, here it is the application of the land knowledge. If you remember here in your setting, there is no wrong answer. So the more you put more biological knowledge into your answer or response, the more knowledge, the more scores you attract. Okay. So when you break it down into the phloem and xylem, it's better.
Okay.
But how are you bringing it?
So if you know that the phloem, I think it's the phloem, the one in the leaves, those ones which transport the manufactured food to the rest of the body parts. So once the dust is there, is it that is there a way it affects the other parts of the plant?
Like I didn't get you so well.
I'm like, since there are particular tissues which are some which are which are used for transportation of manufactured food, the rest of the parts. So once the leaves are covered with the dust, is there a way that process is reduced of translocation?
Of course, the way it will be. Remember, I said that this is something happening on top. That's why I talked about those things which are happening on the leaves. But we didn't talk about the stems. You remember in part A of the item, we didn't talk about the translocation inside. Why? Because the dust is not going to affect inside. So it's only going to affect up. However, only if they had said that the particular plant was broken by the strong winds, that's when you could say that the translocation would affect, which they didn't do.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you, sir.
All right. Should I request to stop here?
No, sir.
Sir, good afternoon.
Questions.
Yes.
You asked.
Sir, the B part.
The what?
B part.
There you are.
Thank you. The closing prayer. Sir.
Who is talking? Pikiriza or Shukrat?
Shukrat.
Talk.
We are requesting for part B of the hereditary question, the one for genetics, then the one for the plant.
Not that one.
That is.
Thank you.
Then paper.
Sir, good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon. You want to say something, Pikiriza?
Sir, the scenario has only A and B.
There is C there.
Haven't completed B.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm almost ending the meeting. So you better ask now.
Okay.
So we didn't
Excuse me,
complete
sir. Is the lesson done?
sir.
Oh, well, now.
No, someone should give us a closing prayer.
we haven't
Excuse me,
completed.
sir.
Master, let me give you a closing prayer.
No,
Sir,
sir, we
excuse
didn't
me.
complete
Yes,
First
we
wait.
need a closing prayer.
We
Sir,
haven't
I'm not
Which
seeing
completed
the party B.
Sir, part
Yeah.
C
Party
and
B,
what?
sir.
I'll
Party
send
B.
it.
But
Closing prayer. I will say the things like I will send them in the group because I have them. I have that paper. That whole shit.
it's okay. It's okay. Have the paper.
it's okay. You send
I will
Okay, you
send.
send that paper.
right now.
In which group?
Man, then,
Send the whole paper. Item 1 to item 7.
Okay.
Master, send us the whole paper. It's crazy.
Of course, you send us the whole paper.
Okay,
I'm going to send the whole.
Yes.
let me put in here my email so that you can get it.
Go.
Yes,
Okay.
teacher.
man, then you
Okay, let's pray. Let's pray. Let's pray. Type
Jojo, relax.
Made another sir.
Let's end the meeting.
Who is the
You
one
have not
praying and
even
go?
prayed and you like to end the meeting.
I'm praying. I'm praying. Shush.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who is
praying?
Jojo?
But guys, who has seen the teacher? Someone bring the teacher back. We need to see the teacher. Where is the teacher?
You pray.
Jojo, you're like you're praying.
Yes, I'm praying. I'm just waiting for people to keep quiet.
Just pray. They're not going to keep quiet.
But Nyabo, you yourself, you should keep quiet, Nyabo.
Jojo, just pray.
Who is praying?
Almighty Father, we thank you for having this lesson. So we pray as our church give us this work that we may pass it. In Jesus' name we have prayed.
Amen.
Amen.
See you next time.
Thank you,
Have a good
teacher.
evening.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Jojo, I want to know.
Amen.
Jojo.
Bye.
But how is the email?
Oh, let me send it. Let me send it, please.
Jojo.
Georgia has disappeared.
You're wasting a lot of time. Mommy had said you're going to go engineer around tomorrow.
Okay, there it
There's a
is.
group A and a group B. I think people should send the notes on the group B and also group A. They should send on both the groups.
Okay, thank you, sir, for this time that you have given to us.
I'm humbled. Thank you. Thank you.